Noah finds favor in the eyes of the Lord. And so we see a change in the narrative again when we see these are the generations of, in verse 9 of Genesis 6, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. That's all we have to know. He was a guy who had things right on the inside, and so he will obey God. Now we're going to see as we look at Noah that he didn't have it all together, but the inclinations of his heart were different than the rest of the world. And that's what pleases God. He was blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. That goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. It was our original instinct. It's now against our instincts to walk with God. Now we got to introduce some more characters. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All the new people of the world are going to come from Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the condition of the world. The earth was corrupt in verse 11 in God's sight. The earth was filled with violence. Remember, Jesus will tell the religious leaders when he characterizes the devil, he'll say in John 8 that the devil has 2 characteristics. He's a liar and a murderer from the very beginning. So violence is what you would expect to see as the devil's fingerprints. By the way, as we look at our society and all the violence that is characteristic in our society and in the cities, and revolutions that are characterized by violence. Violence is never an act of God in that sense. Now, God will sometimes use violence as acts of judgment. That's very, very different. But violence for the sake of violence or human vengeance or anger is never justified by the hands of man. That's the whole moral dilemma that comes down to, well, who does God think he is to use violence? God? Oh, yeah. Tough subject. And so that line gets blurred. And so we see violence around us that masquerades as righteousness. It's not righteousness. It's unrighteousness. And the world is filled with it again, masquerading as our right and as righteousness. It is not. The whole world is filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt. All flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh. For the earth is filled with violence. How many times have we read that now? The earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make the rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. That's got to have been an interesting command for God to have told Noah, go make an ark. Yeah, what's that? Up until this point, I don't think Noah's ever seen an ocean or rain for that matter. This is going to be one huge act of faith. But God's going to have to show him how to make it. We get the summary here, but we don't get the building plans. God's going to have to give that to Noah. This is how you're to make it. Length of an ark is 300 cubits. A cubit is like the length of an arm. Its breadth is 50 cubits. Its height 30 cubits. This is a pretty big boat. Make a roof for the ark. Finish it to a cubit above. Set the door on the ark on its side. Make it with a lower, second, third deck. Doesn't need a motor. It's just going to float. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, which is the breath of life under heaven. He's not going to destroy fish. It doesn't have the breath of life in it. He's going to destroy everything that has the breath. Remember, when God gave man life, the ruach, that's the Hebrew term for the breath of life, that's an image of God imparting his life, his breath. He's taking it away. And he's taking it away from man and from everything on the face of the earth. Everything on the earth shall die. Verse 18. But I will establish my covenant with you. That's going to become an important term. A covenant is an agreement. In this case, an unconditional agreement. With Noah, he's going to establish a covenant, a relationship that will ultimately mean, I'm not going to do this twice. So get the point once. I'm going to establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of the flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, and to keep them alive with you. There shall be male and female. Of the birds according to their kinds, of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping thing on the ground according to its kind. Notice the terminology going back to creation. Genesis 2. Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. Everything according to its sign, according to its kind, according to its kind, according to its kind. Multiply according to its kind, according to its kind. Male, female, according to its kind. Procreate that way. So you need male and female to multiply again. 2 of every sort shall come to you to keep them alive. So there's a miraculous part in this. Don't go out and find them. They will come to you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to send them to you. Also take with you every sort of food. And by the way, that might also imply that the earth was geologically very different for them to be able to come. And you'll see that later when the flood comes, is that the earth is going to erupt. And so it is very likely that the landmass was singular at that time. Allow the animals to come to Noah. So take 2 of every sort that will come to you and keep them alive. Verse 21. Also take with you every sort of food that is for eating. Keep in mind, everything was vegetarian at that time. So it shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this? No. He did all that God commanded him. And he's going to build this ark. And God is going to float this ark and reboot the planet because it had been corrupted by violence. This is the start of the Noah narrative, where God is going to redo it again